Hey everyone, welcome to Youth Bombs. I'm Craig.
I am Coleman.
I'm Carson.
And we're the voice of young conservatives in Alachua County. Today, Sunday, the date of recording, Germany had their federal snap elections, and the Alternative for Deutschland Party, or AfD for short, came in second place as the largest opposition party. I am happy about this as they are a solid right-wing party that is aligned with the MAGA movement in many ways. However, Carson disagrees. What's your take on the party, and why is it a bad thing, in your view, that they won?
Yeah, so I have a couple examples, but just generally, to give an overview, I think that AfD is a much further right party than Trump's Republican Party. And frankly, I'm not even that all too keen on Trump's Republican Party as a libertarian. But still, even with that, I think they are much more radical. I think they kind of take a lot of, there's a lot of Nazi, not just undertones, but overtones in what they say. And that's not necessarily to say that their policies are neo-Nazis, but if we're talking about who is going to lead a country, I think everything matters. I think the way they communicate matters. So even if the policy might not be, I still think it's radical, to be frank, but even if the policy is not directly on that level, which nobody is, frankly, but even if the policy is not on that level, the way people communicate, the way people talk about other members of their country matters. And I think some of the ways that AfD has discussed, issues such as immigration is kind of
Nazi-ish.
Well, its detractors call it Nazi-ish, for instance. And the thing with that is we can look at the leadership, for instance, and Alice Weidel, the head of the AfD. Would Hitler approve of a lesbian in an interracial relationship? No. And I think that Alice is a great leader for the AfD. I think that she is a strong woman who will lead the party to success in years to come and has proven herself in today's elections. But additionally, it's the policies that I'm most looking at as opposed to the rhetoric. And I've not seen concerning rhetoric. The neo-Nazis in Germany, they join the NPD, New Democratic Party. They are not interested in the AfD as it is pro-Israel, pro-Jewish, and is not a neo-Nazi party. It explicitly rejects the ideas of Hitler and the Nazis' horrific atrocities of the past. What would you say to that, Carson?
Yeah. I think what they've said speaks for itself. For instance, I believe this is a former leader of the party, what he called the Holocaust monument in Germany a monument of shame. I think that's patently absurd. I don't know how that is, just the fact that he wasn't referring to just like the existence of the Holocaust. He was talking about the fact that the monument is up. It's a monument of shame. It should not, we should get rid of it, basically. Then another former AfD head said that they need to get rid of the rank growth on the German racial corpus, basically saying Germany has become too diverse. We need to stop allowing people from different races to come into this country. Actually, the woman you just mentioned said, burqas, headscarf girls, and other good-for-nothings will not secure our prosperity. Basically, I'm summing that up, but basically that is what she said. And so I think that a lot of that rhetoric is just simply very, at best, exclusionary. At worst, it's downright hateful.
Gotcha. Well, I would say to that, in specific to Alice Weidel, for instance, Germany has a serious migration problem with the people that they are letting in. For instance, on unemployment alone, in Germany, Afghans and Syrians have an unemployment rate of over 30%, while the German unemployment rate is about 5%. On issues of gang rape, those originating from Africa who have come into Germany have a gang rape likelihood 40 times higher than that of Germans. Additionally, when you look at those from Afghanistan, it's 70 times higher. And this is Germany's statistics that have posted these results. This is not guesswork or conjecture. This is the equivalent of the FBI publishing these results. So when we look at the people coming into Germany, certainly I would disagree that just because someone wears a burqa, that's a problem. But at the same time, they are not getting good migrants into the country, and their proposal for remigration is absolutely necessary given these crime rates, what's happening to the children with rates of child abuse 7 times higher among North Africans in Germany, or homicide 15 times higher than Germans. So really serious crime issue. And yes, while that comment doesn't really hit the mark in terms of, okay, are we going to be understanding that people in different religions have differences and that not all Islamic members are radical, at the same time, the people that they are getting are not of good quality, severe crime issues, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that you yourself, as a 26-year-old, was able to have enough nuance to say these comments are not hitting the mark, that is like perfectly sums up what I'm saying. Our leaders, whether it's Germany's leaders or America's leaders or whoever's leaders, they should have the nuance not to make obscene comments about a whole group of people. I think that is I think that's absurd. I think that is like the bare minimum, is that our leaders shouldn't say about entire groups of people that they are good for nothings. I mean, you just agreed with me there. So the rhetoric matters. I think the rhetoric always matters, and I think if the other quote that they need to basically take in less non-white people. I mean, that is basically what it says. That matters. You can say that we need to get rid of the criminals in our country. Hell, I would be fine with you saying, like Donald Trump is, like, I don't think Donald Trump is an illegitimate leader. I disagree with him on this point, but I'm fine if you say we should accept no immigrants. I disagree with that heavily, but it's fine. But you're saying we need to stop accepting immigrants of a certain, color or creed or nationality. It is like, I think that's wrong. I don't think you are fit to be a leader if people from your party consistently say these sorts of things.
Well, if in instances of actual racism, it's rejected by the AfD members, and you're going to have people across the political spectrum say controversial comments of any color. But the issue, and when I say color, I'm not referring to race, but the issue at hand is, what are the problems facing Germany? Most Germans agree that it's immigration and the economy. I wouldn't withhold my vote from the AfD just because there have been a couple comments that should have required more nuance. The issues at hand are important. The Christian Democratic Union, the primarily quote-unquote conservative party in Germany, is not up to task. They are not willing to deal with the migration problem. In fact, Angela Merkel, who was the head of the Christian Democratic Union, called herself a conservative, let in 1 million migrants during her tenure around 2015. So they are making the problem worse, and the AfD is the only party with real solutions to the issue. Coleman, I want to get you in on this. What do you see as the present state of the German political situation, and what's your reaction to the election results?
Oh boy. So I do see this is probably another emblematic of like a general populist wave across the West, which is generally a good thing. Now, having said that, what else do I need to say on this matter? So the discussion here is about rhetoric and whether or not the rhetoric by some people disqualifies them from say holding power. The reason why I guess I'm at least skeptical of it, because one, I haven't seen the context, or sure, I'll take your word, and then two, it's a matter of we hear all these sorts of smears all the time in America, at least about Donald Trump and then his supporters taking quotes out of context, or Trump just says something I don't know, provocative, and then we have to go and clean up after him. So it's a matter of I at least reached a point where I don't care as much as sure, I'm just more lenient on if people slip up and when they say things. I'm again like you, Craig, I'm much more paying attention to the actions. And then I've listened to Alice Wedel's interview with Elon Musk. She seemed sensible and kind, and I was surprised she actually speak pretty well English. And then most of what they were talking about, again, was just the unsustainable amounts of immigration, again, crime, and then also energy economics. Talking about how they need to focus more on reliable and sources of energy that run for 24 hours rather than inefficient sources of energy that have the guise of environmentally friendly. So that's all I have. Right?
Yeah, gotcha. Carson, so what is your advice to, say, a German conservative looking for a party to vote for? I, as a strong conservative, believe that the CDU is not up to the task. The AfD, sure, there have been a couple of comments that require more nuance, but on the whole, they are certainly saying and doing much better things than every other party in Germany.
Well, I'm this is not my area of expertise, frankly. I am not completely educated on all of the nuances of the German system, but I would say that generally speaking, I think you just need to, and everyone needs to go out and hold your leaders accountable. I think if you are looking for the AfD to not spew hateful rhetoric, I think it's a very, very simple fix. If it is really just a rhetoric thing, it is a very simple fix. And we all know rhetoric matters. Rhetoric from, there was that one shooter who said he was completely influenced, and they believe back in 2017 or 18, it was a mass shooting. I think he killed upwards of 20, 30 people, and he said he was completely influenced by Bernie Sanders, of all people.
What?
So I think rhetoric matters. I think the way people talk and, the discouraging of political violence at all levels matters. Now, does that mean that political leaders legally should not be able to say these things? Obviously not. You should be able to say whatever you like. But I think for our leaders, there should be a higher, in particular, a higher standard. So I would say, reach out to your leaders. You need to tell them what you want. If you are, maybe on other issues, you're leaning more towards the policy of the New Democrats?
Christian Democratic Union, yeah.
Democratic Union, then you should reach out to them and say, this is where I would like you to change your positions. And if you are leaning more towards AfD, in my purview, even though I'm sure I have disagreements with both parties, everyone has disagreements with everyone, but I would probably reach out to them and say that this rhetoric is really discouraging coming from a supporter. I think these are pretty simple ways that you can communicate to your leaders, and I think if this happened en masse, we would see more of this. The problem isn't the system, it is the participation in the system. Nobody seems to want to participate in the system, and you could say the same thing about America. But
And there's certainly a lot of people who just don't want to get involved in politics, which is sad to see. But that brings me to the next point of the German firewall. Carson, do you believe that's justified for every other party in Germany to shut out any sort of cooperation with the AfD whatsoever?
Wait, so what is this firewall?
Yeah, so the firewall, for those who may not know, in Germany is the idea that the AfD is quote-unquote toxic, that they cannot be allowed to participate in government whatsoever, and that they must be excluded from any coalition government at any time. And it's insulting to a great many German people, especially the majority in East Germany, who support the AfD, saying that their views are illegitimate and wrong and that they should just be discounted. And by the way, that's just going to grow the AfD because people are frustrated with the system and the establishment parties.
Yeah, I would say that given some of the things they've said, I'm not entirely opposed to that. Now, granted, I think if they are the second biggest party after this election, which they are, then yeah, there needs to be some sort of change. There needs to be some sort of cooperation because as the second biggest party, they're going to have a lot of influence in Germany's parliament. So there needs to be some element of cooperation. But I think that there's also, I would at least as a politician, have some hesitance in working with the same people who said the Holocaust monument is a monument of shame, who said that and said that it should be removed, who say that they need to stop letting in non-white people, essentially, is what the quote said. I read it earlier. Who said that burqas, headscarf girls, and other good-for-nothings will not secure our prosperity, just calling entire elements of the population good-for-nothing. I would have hesitancy, too, as a politician who wants to, hold on to some form of general respect for the people in my country, I think that's completely normal. I think there should be an element of cooperation. A complete firewall, I would say, is probably not the right approach, because you need to at some point. These people will only continue to grow and grow in their power, and if there's a plurality government where the AfD has the plurality of seats, I can't imagine how that would go. But generally speaking, I think you do need to have some form of cooperation, but I understand their hesitancy.
Okay. And looking at that, I think the big thing is the free speech issue. And the AfD, despite the comments you may disagree with, at the same time, they're the only ones willing to respect freedom of speech in Germany, while the other parties, there was even a recent interview with an American news channel where a German leader was asked, would insults on social media be illegal? And he responded, yes. So criticism of the system, of others, if it is deemed politically incorrect, they will come for you, they will arrest you, and that's a very bad sign for freedom in Germany and freedom in Europe. Additionally, we have to consider the idea that, okay, if I am a German conservative and I'm looking at the CDU and the AfD, the ultimate thing is, okay, which one is genuinely going to do the right thing for my country and which is on the side of rightist issues? The Christian Democratic Union is willing to collaborate with the radical Green Party and Social Democratic Party, which are fundamentally leftist. That makes me strongly question, in fact, further than that, say that they are not committed to the idea of conservatism and that they are just a general establishment party that is not willing to disrupt the corrupt system in Germany, that is not willing to take on the establishment and corrupt institutions within the country. It's a problem that the entire West faces. And it's similar in England. England's clamping down on freedom of speech. Scotland, you could get arrested for praying. The Scottish government even released documents to that effect years ago during the COVID lockdowns. So it's frightening that the Europeans say we are the bastion of freedom of democracy and continue to mock America, while at the same time silencing their citizens and making the political situation worse and worse for everyone, destabilizing their nations, hurting their economies, and letting in immigrants who are committing vast amount of crime. Coleman, I want to get your take on this. What's your reaction across the West of how political events are unfolding and the response to it among the populist right?
Wait, so my reaction was I didn't hear. Did you say Scotland outlawed public praying? Like what?
Even in the home, yes. They sent out a document that's been published on X and essentially was saying that praying, no, can't do that. Or they've also arrested people for silently praying outside of abortion clinics across the UK. They say that they're disturbing the peace, that it's an antisocial act, and these people are doing nothing but silently praying to God.
Okay. Well, I guess on this matter, I think just recently there was a Make Europe Great Again conference in Brussels, so maybe this thing is, maybe there is a Trump effect globally. But beyond that, yeah, it's a shame. Obviously, I think rights shouldn't just be exclusionary to or dictated by the government. But I think that rights are a priority of government. And clearly, someone praying is not harming anyone, so it ought to be a right. But yeah, it's a shame of what's happening there. So that's what I have to say.
Gotcha. And final note is that right-wing populism is a growing movement across the West as people continue to be frustrated with the establishment parties, the establishment system, and the fact that politicians, academia, the media are not working in the interest of the people. They are working against the interest of the people, making their countries worse and worse off continuously over time. And it's a fact that you're going to have across the political spectrum unless you have politicians and individuals committed to real, genuine change against a corrupt establishment that hates the people. But Coleman, regarding your recent endeavors, I want to get your take and promo of the recent Mises event that you did.
Yeah, so tune into if you like this video, smash the like button, subscribe, and then, comment. That'd be all cool. And then you could also tune into our next video where I, Coleman, am going to talk about my trip to a Mises Institute conference in Tampa yesterday, the 22nd of February. And if you want to learn about that, Mr. Rothbard here, and then, what has the government done with our money, and, the absolute state of education in America, yeah, you can tune in to that video to be released soon.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for watching. We really appreciate it. We upload 3 times a week, and if you'd like to reach out to us, feel free at youthbombs@alatrorepublicans.com. Thanks so much, everyone.